Dear ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by saying this. You don't rise to the level of your dreams, you rise to the level of your standards. And if your standards are low, your life will follow. But when you elevate your standards, you elevate your life. See, too many of us are waiting for a promotion while living with a minimum wage mindset. We pray for big opportunities, yet tolerate small habits. We ask for better relationships, yet settle for people who drain our purpose. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you expect, and what you expect is defined by the standards you live by. Stop normalizing dysfunction, stop making excuses for mediocrity, stop calling average enough just because you're tired. You were not created to live below your calling. You were created to rise, to build, to lead, and to stand out. Elevating your standards means refusing to stay in the same cycle another year, declaring no more to what used to be good enough. Choosing discipline over distraction, saying yes to what aligns and no to what only entertains. Listen, God never asked you to be perfect, but He never called you to be comfortable either. He called you to go higher in your thoughts, your values, your relationships, your goals. So today, draw the line, raise the bar, stand tall even when it's hard. Don't just upgrade your clothes, your phone, or your feed, upgrade your life. Because when you elevate your standards, you give God permission to move in ways you've never imagined. 10 key points of the speech. You rise to the level of your standards, not your dreams. Low standards limit high potential. Stop waiting for a better life while tolerating poor habits. Refuse to normalize dysfunction in your personal or spiritual life. Elevating standards requires rejecting comfort and embracing growth. You attract what you expect. Raise your expectations. Start saying no to what drains and yes to what aligns. God honors high standards rooted in purpose, not pride. Change begins when you draw a line and raise the bar. Elevating your standards invites divine elevation, certainly. Here is an *** expanded version of key point 1, ***, deeply explored in *** Steven Furtick. Dial ***, without a subtitle or conclusion. You rise to the level of your standards, not your dreams. We all have dreams. We dream of being successful, of having peace, of being used for something greater than ourselves. But dreams are not enough. A dream without discipline is just a distraction. And what holds most people back is not the absence of dreams, it's the presence of low standards. You can dream about being healthy while continuing to eat what breaks your body. You can dream about financial freedom while ignoring every opportunity to be a better steward. You can dream about relationships full of love and trust while still tolerating toxicity because it's familiar. Your dreams may be big, but if your standards are small, you'll live small. Dreams are like the destination, but standards are the road. And you can't get to the dream if you keep taking detours called *compromise*. See, standards aren't about being rigid or self-righteous, they're about being clear. Clear about who you are, clear about what you will and won't allow, clear about the kind of life you're building even when no one is watching. Because here's the truth. The level you settle for becomes the limit you live in. And God did not create you to settle. He didn't form you in secret, breathe purpose into your lungs, and place greatness in your spirit, just for you to settle for barely enough. You don't get to live like a spectator and expect the reward of a champion. You don't get to be lazy in private and expect honor in public. You don't get to dream like a lion and move like a mouse. Standards are what you demand of yourself before the world ever sees your results. They're the quiet decisions you make when no one claps. They're the level of excellence you hold yourself to, not because someone's watching, but because God placed something inside you that's worth honoring. So when your standards rise, your life rises. When your thinking levels up, your living follows. And when you stop settling for good enough and start walking in God-ordained, that's when your life begins to reflect the dreams He placed in your heart. Because it was never just about dreaming big, it was always about living up to what you've already been called to. Would you like me to expand key point 2 in the same style next? Of course. Here is a ***, deep an expanded version of Key Point 2 written in the same emotionally driven, spiritually bold style with no subtitle or conclusion just pure flow, low standards limit high potential. Potential alone doesn't change anything. You can have the strength of a lion locked inside a cage, and it means nothing if it never breaks free. And the truth is, it's not your lack of ability that's holding you back, it's what you're willing to accept. You were created with divine potential, the kind that scares darkness when it wakes up inside you, the kind that heaven celebrates and hell fears. But potential has a price. It demands standards that match it. How long will you keep living below your potential because you're afraid to raise your standards? Some of us are stuck in average because we keep tolerating average. You say you're built for greatness, but you tolerate disrespect. You say you're made for leadership, but you avoid responsibility. You say you're destined for purpose, but you let laziness stay as a roommate in your spirit. Let me ask you something real. What are you allowing in your life that's beneath what God placed in you? Sometimes it's not your enemies that sabotage you, it's your own permission to stay comfortable, permission to live with distraction, permission to say, this is just who I am, instead of saying, this is who I'm becoming. Potential can only rise where standards refuse to settle. If your standard is just don't fail, you'll never grow. If your standard is just do enough to get by, you'll never thrive. If your standard is as long as no one sees it, it's okay, then you'll keep wondering why your public life doesn't reflect your private faith. God didn't put greatness in you just to watch you coast. He didn't call you chosen just to see you settle. He raised you up to raise the bar not just for yourself, but for everyone connected to you. And until you stop tolerating what dishonors your destiny, you'll never activate the potential He placed inside you. You can't keep praying for increase while living with decrease in your character. You can't cry out for abundance while accepting lack in your mindset. You can't say you believe for more while surrounding yourself with less than thinking. If you want the fullness of what's in you, you have to confront what you've allowed around you. Because potential doesn't move on its own, it follows the path your standards create. And until you raise the standard, you won't reach the promise, absolutely. Here's a powerful, emotionally resonant expanded version of Key Point 3 continuing the same high-impact, spiritually driven tone with no subtitle or conclusion just immersive flow. Stop waiting for a better life while tolerating poor habits. We pray for change, but refuse to change. We ask God for overflow, yet hold on to the very things that leak our capacity. We cry out for a breakthrough while building our days on cycles that break us. You can't step into a better life while you're defending the habits that built a broken one. Some of us are stuck not because the door is locked, but because we refuse to walk through it differently than we did yesterday. We say we want more peace, but we won't turn off the noise. We say we want stronger faith, but we won't shut down the distractions. We want a powerful life, but we're still feeding powerless patterns. Better doesn't come by chance. Better is a decision backed by discipline, fueled by faith. Look closely. The life you're living is the result of the habits you're tolerating, the way you talk to yourself, the way you spend your time, the way you think when no one's listening. Don't blame the devil for everything you're choosing to allow. It's not always an attack, sometimes it's neglect. It's not always warfare, sometimes it's weakness you've made comfortable. You can't conquer what you keep excusing. You want to live in purpose, but scroll through hours of comparison. You want to walk in excellence, but operate in delay. You want your calling to flourish, but your habits are drowning your calling in excuses. You're asking God to bless a life that hasn't been surrendered. You're asking for fire, but refusing to gather the wood. It's not that God isn't ready, He's always been ready, but He blesses alignment. He elevates what is surrendered. He breathes on what's been built with integrity and intention. If you're tolerating laziness, don't expect clarity. If you're tolerating chaos, don't expect peace. If you're tolerating excuses, don't expect elevation. What you feed grows, what you repeat becomes normal, and what you tolerate becomes permanent. You can't cry for transformation while clinging to what's toxic. You can't worship for breakthrough and then walk back into bondage. You can't step into new life while defending the habits that built your pain. So the question isn't, will God give me better? The question is, will I stop tolerating worse? God's not waiting on your performance, He's waiting on your permission. Permission to strip away what's false, permission to heal what's hidden, permission to break cycles and birth new ones. Because the moment you stop tolerating what's tearing you down, you make space for the life you were always meant to build. Certainly, here's a *** long form, emotionally driven expansion of key point 4 ***, written in the same fire, filled, faith-rooted tone, immersive and without any subtitle or conclusion. Refuse to normalize dysfunction in your personal or spiritual life. We were never meant to adjust to dysfunction, we were meant to confront it, challenge it, and rise above it. But somewhere along the way, dysfunction became comfortable, broken became familiar, chaos became our rhythm. And because it's what we've always known, we start calling it normal. But let me tell you something that might shake you. Just because it's common doesn't mean it's healthy. Just because you've learned to survive, it doesn't mean you were created to live in it. You were not built to carry anxiety like it's a birthright. You were not made to settle for toxic love and call it loyalty. You were not designed to stay quiet while your spirit is screaming for more. When you start normalizing dysfunction, you build a prison and call it protection. You make excuses for brokenness instead of pursuing healing. You dress up your pain with performance and call it strength, but God sees through it. He doesn't want your fake peace. He wants your real surrender. He's not asking you to pretend you're okay. He's calling you to step into what's true. But we don't challenge the dysfunction because deep down we're afraid of what healing requires. We're afraid of who we'll be without our excuses. We're afraid of the silence after the chaos ends. We're afraid to raise the standard because we might have to lose people who don't rise with it. But let me be clear, anything God has to deliver you from, the enemy will try to convince you to tolerate. And if the devil can't destroy you, he'll distract you with dysfunction. He'll make you believe that broken is all you'll ever be. That cycles are too strong to break, that you're too deep in it to get out now. But that is a lie. You do not have to keep living under the weight of what you never asked for. You don't have to carry trauma like it's a trophy. You don't have to stay where peace goes to die just because it's where you started. God didn't call you to cope, He called you to overcome. He didn't give you breathe to blend into brokenness. He called you to be the one that says, "It ends with me." The one that walks away from what is familiar but faithless. The one that stops agreeing with dysfunction in the name of being realistic. You've got to raise your spiritual standards. Stop allowing your emotions to lead when your faith was designed to take charge. Stop letting your past define what your future can look like. Stop putting up with situations, thoughts, relationships, habits that shrink the strength God put inside of you. Because the longer you tolerate dysfunction, the deeper it roots itself in your identity. But the moment you expose it, the moment you call it what it is, it loses power. You don't have to shout it. You just have to stop feeding it. You don't have to fight everything. You just have to walk differently. Walk with faith. Walk with fire. Walk with the refusal to live one more day in a life God never signed off on. God didn't call you to be a prisoner of dysfunction. He called you to be a carrier of transformation. But nothing transforms until you confront what you've allowed too long.